it's time to discuss today's top stories with Gyles, Brandreth and Camilla Tominey. Good morning to you both.
I'm in such happy form because you mentioned Babycham. I love retro. I love retro eating, drinking. On Saturday night, I went for dinner with my friend Sally Phillips, and she served an old-fashioned prawn cocktail.
Oh,
yes. It was wonderful. With lettuce, the prawn, sauce Mary Rose.
Lovely.
It was fantastic.
You just needed some Babycham.
Yeah, that's what we did need.
What's your retro food?
Well, I love a prawn cocktail. I like, quite childish food. If I go to a restaurant, I have a prawn cocktail, spaghetti bolagnese and some ice cream.
Oh,
I'm quite happy with
that's a
that.
meal.
That
Very
is.
cheap
Yeah.
date, really.
It's
And
not a
that
meal.
pie. I'd have a slice of that pie.
Yeah.
What a-
Well, you can.
I might stay around for it. Thank you so much.
We've not eaten it all.
No. Right, OK, let's get down to business here. This is right up your street, Camilla. Prince William and Prince Harry are reported to have no intention of holding reconciliation meetings during the King's coronation.
I know, it's a story that keeps on running, doesn't it? I think there's been some reports over the weekend about a kind of royal truce, perhaps between the King and Prince Harry because of his decision to come to the coronation. And there's been a bit of magnanimity there because it's being suggested that he's going to be sort of in the so-called cheap seats, not really asked to take part in the procession, not able to take part in any of the other events, won't be on the Buckingham Palace balcony. So he will be a bit reduced in his royal capacities at the ceremony on May the 6th. Having said all that, and I think we can all understand, can't we, a father's love for his son is never ending and therefore there'll always be the forgiveness there. But I think when it comes to William and Harry's relationship, lots of people on the inside are sort of indicating that it appears beyond repair, which is really very sad. After everything that's been said and done in Spare and the Netflix documentary and even going back to Oprah Winfrey, there was still no reconciliation at that point, was there, when they met after the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral?
There are things you can't unsay, aren't there? In an article, allegedly, Queen Consort Camilla is said to be hurt by revelations made by Harry, as indeed you would be, as part of his tell-all memoir Spare, which you mentioned, where the Prince described her as dangerous and a villain. Once you've said that, you can't take that back.
No. You can't. And I think lots of people, it doesn't matter whether your family's populated by princes or paupers.
Yeah.
Everyone looks at the whole situation and finds it deeply uncomfortable. Would you say that about your nearest and dearest? It's really hard. And I think for Charles particularly, of course, he's in between these two warring sons and under huge amounts of pressure to make sure that this event in a few weeks' time, by the way, it's come round really quickly.
Yeah, how's that happened?
I know, but he wants that to go off without a hitch and he doesn't want the bad optics of this kind of frostiness between his two sons overshadowing things in the same way they didn't want that to happen for the Platinum Jubilee and the Queen's funeral. Yeah. It'll be a case of royal best foot forward.
This has come upon us very quickly. When George VI died, the last Queen's coronation didn't take place for 18 months. So it was a lot of time for a lot of planning. This has all happened in 6 months. So it's been really getting on with it. There's been what people are calling transatlantic ping-pong between Clarence House, where the King lives, and California, where Harry lives, to ensure that Harry is there. Because obviously, if you are the King, you'd want your children to be there at what is the most extraordinary moment in your life and is part of our national story. I would be rather sad that not all my grandchildren were there if I were King, simply thinking back, this is a moment in history, that, here we have King Charles III, but that's the way it is. And because he is no longer a working royal, of his own choice, really, he's not going to be part of the sort of ceremonial. There won't be a uniform, he won't be in private place.
I wrote this last week. I just think the idea that Meghan was going to come was just for the birds. I just didn't think she was ever going to come because I think they, after being South-Parked and everything that's gone on, they just weren't sure of what reception they were both going to get. She does have a very good excuse, and it's completely legitimate to say, well, it's my son's 4th birthday that day. I want to stay in California. OK, they could have all come over and had a family occasion and a celebration, but I just...
What a birthday celebration, though. Grandpa is becoming the King and is being crowned. It is fantastic.
But if they had been booed and things, Harry still might be booed, which would be very unfortunate.
I just think it's so... Everybody knows with family, navigating through any difficult or challenging time is the most awful thing. And, everybody might have different feelings towards, and I'm sure how Charles does between different sons, and he might not feel the way William feels. But it's the fact that they have to do it on such a platform, I think,
I've
is just...
never been to a family wedding where there wasn't one of these strange people who turned up and you go, oh, he's come, is he? You know, oh, she's there. Have you seen the hat? Oh,
someone always gets drunk and someone always falls down the stairs.
Yes, and there's always people there you don't know. I remember looking back at my wedding photos and then when we get a photo booth, thinking, who's that? I don't know, but we seem to have paid for their meal.
Well, the emphasis here is on family as well as royal. So it's a family.
Yeah,
this is a family drama.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Students could be made to study maths up to the age of 18, as Prime Minister Rishi Sunak calls to end the country's anti-math mindset.
Oh, my goodness.
I think this is good news. We take for granted that people have to go on learning English because we know that communication is important. You've got to be able to read and write and articulate. And so people have to, throughout their time at school, English is part and parcel of what you learn. Well, maths is part and parcel of actually how you operate successfully in the world. Understanding finance, understanding your own domestic finance is key. So actually being able to add up, to count, to do mathematics is, I think, terribly important in the world.
I mean, practical maths, certainly, understanding your mortgage rate, budgeting, I don't know, even doing some basic planning, building a shed in the garden.
Or your children's homework.
Your children's homework. Rochelle, goodness me, I don't like helping with that. Leave that to my husband, who did do a maths degree, to be fair. Very useful. However, there is a practical problem with this policy. The schools can't recruit enough maths teachers as it is. I mean, the idea that you need more maths teachers to do extra classes into A-level is going to be really difficult logistically.
But that's you're saying, oh, let's give up. I'm saying, let's be optimistic, let's be positive, let's look to the future. At the moment, I think a third of children fail maths GCSE.
But that's a problem at primary and middle school.
And there are, like my son-in-law, good teachers who are primary school maths teachers. Indeed, I think the last Ofsted in his lot came out, whatever, is excellent. So there are good teachers out there.
But what I think Camilla's point there is, yes, the teachers we have, many are absolutely brilliant. There just aren't enough of them because almost half of secondary schools rely on non-specialist teachers for math lessons. Research has found, and ministers have failed, to hit their recruitment targets for maths teachers every year since 2012.
But what Mr Sunak is asking for is a change in the mindset. And I think we're always criticising politicians for a short-term view. I think what he's setting out here is a long-term view that we actually must give more priority to maths, and that will have to be recruiting and finding more maths teachers.
Of other subjects, I just think of it like this, you know, I'm functionally illiterate. Most journalists are, right? You know, I'm really good at English.
Not when it comes to your expenses.
And truly that. True that, to be fair. Thank you, Gyles. Not as big as they were in the 80s, let's be honest. But I'm good at English, I'm not so good at maths. So what I do is I contract any mathematical problems, like my accounts or whatever, to people who were good at maths at school.
I'm with you.
And I'm a creative, you know, I enjoyed drama. That was one of my best subjects. You know, lo and behold, I've become this kind of journalist. Let's not denigrate creative subjects as well.
But we were talking about this morning, Rosh and I, and we're saying that, does it have to be, you know, sines, cosines and tangents? Couldn't it be a life skill in sorting a mortgage, organising your household bills? It's practical maths.
And that makes it more interesting too, because you think it's real, it applies to me in my life.
Yes, absolutely.
But then we're talking about changing the whole curriculum, potentially, perhaps. You know, some of the maths I think that we learn, we can all agree, we dispense with pretty quickly.
Oh,
and then other maths actually is really, really useful for the foundation of our knowledge.
What we like is the easy stuff.
Yes, that's
Going into the drama class and being a tree. You're like that. But actually, maths is quite tough.
Some kids found that really difficult. You ask a top mathematician whether they want to go into a drama class and be a tree, and they'd go, I'd rather do... You know, you ask very mathematical kids who aren't sporty,
do you know,
go and captain the hockey team.
Einstein was terrible at charades. Famous for it.
And couldn't be a tree. Just finally, for the moment on this one, we'll do some more in a bit. In an undercover investigation by The Mirror, a 13-year-old shopper was sent to 16 retailers in Manchester, and 4 of them sold her vapes, which contain up to 5 times the legal amount of nicotine. 3 of the shops sold the girl legal disposable vapes. Only 1 of the 7 shops that sold her vapes asked for proof of age. The girl's haul of vapes contained as much nicotine as found in 100 cigarettes.
This is terrifying.
I mean, honestly, it reminds me a bit about Alco Pop's kind of been marketed directly to children.
Yes.
I think vapes are marketed directly to children. As a mum, I find this just infuriating because at the end of the day, what this is cynical cigarette companies saying, well, we can't get kids hooked on smoking, so let's get them hooked on vaping. We spoke to the good doctor earlier, And she made the point that actually, yes, vapes are 97% safer, but they contain a lot more nicotine and they still got chemicals in them.
New. That's what we were saying earlier. We're not really out of the other side of it yet. Vapes are so new. But do you think there's also a responsibility here with the retailers too? Because, like you've just said, one of them asked for proof of ID.
I think it was described on the radio this morning as the Wild West out there, as far as selling vapes to kids.
But it looks quite respectable as a Wild West, because I see shops, rather chic-looking shops, that are vape shops now. You go into a vape store.
Well, they're very colourful. They're all sorts of multicoloured flavours.
But clearly, it's dangerous. It's bad for you. You get hooked on it. Do not vape. It isn't cool.
Thank you. Thank you for that.